Oh no, why is that the reaction as of right now, generally speaking, when it comes to Polkadot? Well, it's because for the first time ever in the history of its existence, Polkadot's native token called DOT has reached below $1. So we got to think about this. In 2020, 2021, 2022, and so on, we never saw Polkadot below $1 ever. But we're seeing that as of right now in 2026. And here's my reaction, even though I am not telling anyone to do anything, and even though nothing I say is financial advice. So this all may seem very alarming at first glance, and I can understand that to a certain extent. But on the flip side, though, if let's say for whatever reason, Bitcoin reached a new all-time low, which Polkadot has recently reached a new all-time low, by the way. But I'm just saying, if Bitcoin did that, would a lot of people be upset or happy? Now, there might be some people out there who are really upset. Of course, I understand that. But on the flip side, though, if my intent is to dollar cost average, would I complain that something is at an all-time low? I don't think I would, because if I walked inside a store, would I complain that, let's say, a certain item at that store had the biggest discount ever in the history of its existence? Would I complain about that? I don't think I would. But it doesn't mean that I'm just going to automatically believe in all of this like 100% like that. I'm just not going to do that. Personally, for me, I am incrementally believing in projects in a sense where when it comes to the projects that I believe in, I am dollar cost averaging once every approximately 30 days, and that's it. Because that way, if something does keep going lower, okay, then I'll kind of be able to still stay in the journey, so to speak. However, if maybe I'm dollar cost averaging up right here, maybe somewhere in between, overall, over the long term, it just kind of evens itself out. So that's just kind of my mentality as of right now. And keep in mind, even though Polkadot as of right now is at below $1, and recently reached a new all-time low, in terms of fundamentals, it did not reach a new all-time low, fundamentally speaking. If anything, if we were to kind of think about this in a more hypothetical sense, Polkadot as of right now, in my opinion, if we were to just purely consider the fundamentals, it's actually at an all-time high in terms of the fundamentals, not in terms of the price. Let me explain why, even though this may sound kind of bizarre. Well, it's because the all-time high when it comes to Polkadot, we do know is back in 2021. That's no surprise, right? But we have to also consider Polkadot ever since then has improved by a whole lot. I really do believe that. As of right now, we see Polkadot 2.0. We see how the tokenomics are just a lot better than before. And I'm not joking. It was recently confirmed that the maximum supply when it comes to DOT was going to be 2.1 billion. So that's really amazing. Not to mention, we also take a look at in regard to Polkadot 2.0, it's made it way easier for developers to actually build on Polkadot. I'm not joking. Take a look at, for instance, the aspect of elastic scaling when it comes to Polkadot 2.0. That is a total game changer. But again, when it comes to this space, it does not work like the stock market in a sense where a company in real life, they launch something really amazing, they have very good net income, the profit margins looking fantastic. Usually we see it reflect positively when it comes to the price charts, or should I say the stock price. But it doesn't really work that way when it comes to the space. Case in point, Polkadot, best it's ever been doing fundamentally, yet the price is below $1. We've never seen that before when it comes to Polkadot in the history of its existence up until 2026. We haven't seen that. This is the first time we're seeing DOT at below $1 ever. But if anything, if let's say for whatever reason, the market were to recover, guess what? We're now over 10 times lower than where we were compared to December of 2024. Over 10 times lower. If it could just go back to that, that's pretty, fantastic, maybe, hypothetically. But here's the thing. Polkadot does not need to go back to that maybe, in my opinion, because you know what? Polkadot at this point, if we think about it, very recently, we saw like DOT at around $3, right? This is the thing. If DOT goes back to that, we're over 3 times lower than that. Just $3. Keep in mind, that's nothing outlandish. $3 is actually historically considered to be something very bearish when it comes to Polkadot. But I'm just saying, at $3, we're over 3 times lower than that. Bitcoin, as of right now, it's not 3 times lower than its all-time high. And $3 is not even the all-time high when it comes to Polkadot. It's a point in history which was considered very bearish when it comes to Polkadot. That's a thing. So we have to consider that sometimes. Sure, Within this space, things could go down hypothetically quickly, but sometimes the recovery could also move just as fast, depending on the situation and depending on the market conditions. It doesn't always happen, but I'm just saying we've seen that historically in the past. So when people like to tell me, oh, this space is cooked forever, well, really? Polkadot, it's not the only one having a pullback. Take a look at Ethereum. Take a look at Bitcoin. Take a look at Solana. They're also having a decrease. Now, have they reached all-time lows? No, they haven't. Polkadot has, but I'm just saying, the lower something is, in some cases, some people might arguably say, the more happy they might hypothetically be for dollar cost averaging. In some cases, I've heard that. If I purely take a look at it just from a dollar cost averaging standpoint of view, would I complain, again, if I walked inside a store and I saw a discount? I wouldn't. Could you imagine if I walked inside Best Buy or Costco and I complained at a discount? The people working there would be like, what are you talking about? They'd be so, I think, puzzled and maybe confused why I would even ask that question. So when it comes to this space, I get it. A lot of people are leaving. But on the flip side, though, when some people are exiting, some others are entering. It doesn't mean that it's just a one-way street sometimes. It's kind of a two-way street because, yeah, sure, some people are selling, but some are acquiring. It really depends on the frame of mind. I am not telling anyone to do anything, but that's just from what I noticed. If for whatever reason Polkadot one day hypothetically went back to around $10, at that point, would it really matter if I acquired DOT at $2 or a dollar or $1.50 or whatever? I don't know if I would dwell on that because if we take a look at Bitcoin as of right now, sure, it's down by a lot. But if we take a look at Bitcoin back then, let's say when it was at $500, I'm pretty sure, around those ranges, maybe people acquired in some cases at 600 or maybe at 300 or maybe at 400. At the time, it may have seemed like a very big difference, but over the long run, it doesn't seem like a big deal anymore. Like as of right now, people could care less about whether or not Bitcoin was at $400 or $600 back then. You know what I mean? So if DOT maybe goes back to hypothetically $10, which we saw basically in December 2024, at that point, I'm not going to dwell on the fact that whether or not I acquired at $2 or a dollar or whatever. But that's just my mindset. However, when I see something being down like this anyways, as long as I don't have a need to exit, I feel like it's all hypothetically unrealized for me. I mean, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but I just kind of feel like it's just numbers on a screen. It may sound very like trivial, I know, like it may not seem like, oh, what do you mean it's just numbers on a screen? But I feel like it's hypothetically unrealized. I mean, okay, I could exit and realize it, but, because my mindset is years anyways, and I don't mind waiting for years, I just see no reason for me to just randomly want to leave, but I'm not telling anyone to do anything. Now, could this hypothetically go lower? Maybe. I can't control all of this. But for me, because my mindset is years anyways, I'm just trying to treat it like a marathon. It's not a sprint for me, so I'm willing to wait. But at a time when the common denominator is that a lot of projects are having a decrease, either good or bad, if that is the common denominator, I'm of course going to be focusing on the projects that I like fundamentally, which is why I'm still holding and I'm still waiting, and my mindset is years anyways, but I am not telling anyone to do anything. But I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see y'all on the next one.